I'm Marva Ellwanger, and I am with the Boot Hill Committee. I am also the chairperson of the Historic Preservation Board here in Sidney. I am here to talk about Boot Hill Cemetery in Sidney, Nebraska.
And my name's Kathy Wilson, and I'm chairperson for the Boot Hill Committee and Camp Lookout.
So what makes this cemetery just a little different than other cemeteries is you don't have just military here. And that road you drove over was the heart of the cemetery. This cemetery was a national story as well. So for a while there, this was just plain land, and it got into disarray. You couldn't tell it was a cemetery anymore. And the American Legion here petitioned the government to take out the soldiers because it was disrespectful to have soldiers in this type of environment. And during that time, they had an area roped off, and the only way they could know where these people were was to ask the town people, what do you remember? Where do you think they are? And then they would douse and find the graves. They had to find 20 soldiers from the fort and 6 Native American Pawnee scouts. Stories that they found with these people were incredible. But when they'd bring people up, when they dug them up, they found one gentleman who had barbed wire around his neck, and his hands were stuck around his neck too, and he was face down in his grave. You had a woman that was probably holding her baby when she died, and she and the baby both had numerous buckshots throughout them.
When we dug up the fort dumps, we found everything from opium pipes to children's toys, bones, mammoth bones, camel bones. I'm a believer that we need to know where we came from in order to know where we're going. Certain parts of history we don't want to repeat. And to a community, I think history is very important. The development of it, the economic part of it that it contributes to, these are people's lives. People lived here, died here, loved here. So I think there's an honor to it. We'll never know how many are still buried here. Estimates are 500 to 1,000. Well, we're probably standing close to graves, if not on them. The people that are in here, we'll never know who they are, but they are honored, they are cared for, they are protected now. And so I think they're pretty okay with what we're doing, I think. Just my opinion. At least they haven't come home with me, so.
Every single time we have one big event every year, and that's our ghost walk. So when we were first redoing this cemetery, you would walk around and you would smell rose water. Well, what did women use back in the day to cover the smell of not being able to bathe or wash their clothes all the time? They'd use rose water. And so that was our first hint that there was something kind of going on here. And then you would see things and hear things, but mostly it's in photographic evidence. So when we would come out here and we would do the ghost walk, we'd always find something in those pictures.
I don't ever step on anybody's beliefs. I really don't. But like I told you, it's like the beginning of a Stephen King novel. All these people buried and then forgotten. The cattle were running through, the walls were knocked off. It was a mess. How do you forget that many people and leave them behind? So as they started digging, and when they found who they were after, they left everybody else behind. So how could it not be a little active? Forgotten. Then they were plowed. It was plowed for many years. There's 150 years worth of people here. Lots of them.
Graves, the soil's been disturbed, somehow, some way, and it'll pick that up, believe it or not. So a lot of these graves out here, we found by dousing these rods. You get a piece of wire like this here, and make it long enough to where it sticks out quite a ways. And then you hold it right here in your hands like this here. And you don't squeeze very hard, you just let them sit there. And then just kind of really slowly walk. Anywhere you want to go.
It doesn't, I'm really just holding it, so I don't really feel
You just can kind of feel it twisting. You don't really twist it, you just feel it moving.
Isn't that weird? Loosely. It doesn't feel like, because it's science of like the levels.
It is. It's energy.
It doesn't feel supernatural. It just feels like this is what's supposed to happen.
Yeah. It really is important for young people to get involved. I'm 66 and one of the younger ones on our committee. So if we don't pass that on, it will die again. So to get involved, volunteer, call your historical associations, say, I want to help.